Hello, everyone. My name is Sabrina Graham, also known as Mrs. Perfect Credit, and I wanted to share a new journey that I'm on. The end of February, I found a lump in my breast, and you probably know where I'm going with this. And I went through testing, biopsies, things like that. And on April 1st, I received the diagnosis that yes, you have breast cancer. I knew that it was probably it because I do self breast examinations all the time. My husband will be like, "You're playing with yourself again," but it's very important to do breast examinations, especially at a young age, because you get to know your breast. When I first started out with my breast examinations, I used to call the doctor about everything because I had lumpy breast, right? And so at a very young age, starting in my early 20s, uh, I was getting mammograms at such an early age. And that was back when, you had to go through these extra approvals for your insurance to cover it. But it was very important because I knew that my grandmother had passed away from cancer as well, and it was in the breast, and it did eventually. Her last go eventually went to her brain, and so I knew how important it was for breast examinations. I had many conversations with my grandmother, even when she was going through it. She let me touch her lump, so I was very curious, and so I understood the importance of it at a young age. And so when I found this, I was in the bed end of February, and I was like, "Babe," I talked to my husband. Um, I feel something. Oh my God! 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 I was like, "This is different. This is way different. This is not normal. Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God!" And so I checked in the mirror, and I noticed there was a little dimple, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is definitely different." So not only was it hard, the area, but I also had a dimple. Um, and so I knew that this just might be it. And so I had a previous um, connection with a surgeon, a breast surgeon, because about 6 years ago, she removed lumps from my breast. And so when I found this, I called my primary, I called the surgeon, I was calling everybody. And it wasn't even confirmed yet, but I knew this was different. And so even I couldn't get into my doctor, but they said they can put me in with a nurse practitioner the next day. And I said, can she approve a mammogram? Well, not just a mammogram, because mammogram you don't need like a special approval. But I needed a diagnostic mammogram, and that's why I needed approval. So I said, can she approve a diagnostic mammogram? And they said yes. I was like, okay, put me in with the nurse practitioner, whoever can get this approved. And so I was able to see her. She checked. She's like, okay, let me go ahead and get you referred to get that diagnostic mammogram, and had the mammogram done. Diagnostic mammogram means that they have to read your results right away. And so they looked at the results. It's inconclusive. So next up, ultrasound. So the ultrasound, they did it, and I was just laying there. I was like, oh my God, this could be it. And I remember the person who was doing my I've jumped ahead. Okay, so eventually to the ultrasound. Um, no, I'm right on track. I'm sorry, but the person who was doing my ultrasound, um, I kind of didn't really trust her. I felt like, I don't know, it was just something about her. So I started praying to God. I said, I don't trust her, but I trust you, Lord. And I prayed that I can actually talk to the lead radiologist because I was really concerned that she wasn't getting the area properly. And you just have to be careful with people. You don't want to make it seem like you know more than them because they can treat you differently. And your life is in their hands. So you got to be very careful. And so I just prayed to God. I said, Lord, I trust you. I don't trust her, but I trust you. And I didn't say anything. And she walked out. And guess what? The lead radiologist came in. I was like, oh, thank you, Lord. That's exactly what I wanted. So he did the exam all over again. Had me to stand up, looked. And then he showed me. And he showed me my lump. And I found a lump, but he also was concerned about my lymph nodes. So he said we need to do a biopsy for not just your lump, but your lymph nodes as well. So we're going to do a biopsy on your lymph node because I can see something there. And when I looked at the screen of the lump, I was like, oh my God, that looked like a chicken tender. Now, if you know me, I love to eat. It may not look like I love to eat, but I do. I love food. And so that's probably why chicken tender came in my head. But it was very oddly shaped. It wasn't a round circle. It wasn't an oval. It looked like a chicken tender to me. And so I was happy at that point that I had the right person looking at the information. Went in for the biopsy and got that done. Oh my God. So where it's located, and as I talked to also my gynecologist and my surgeon, they were like, wow, I can't believe you found that, where it was. And I think it was my surgeon that said God had to be moving your hand in that area because it was over here. So with your exams, make sure you're not just doing your breast, but come over here too. Come near under your arm because it was right here. It was like borderline. It wasn't like under my arm, but it seemed like it was, but it's still considered part of my breast where it was. And that's where I found it. And I had to go deep. It's very deep. And that's where I found it. And again, it was hard. That was my experience. Your experience might be different, but I'm just sharing my experience. So it's very important that you check, in that area as well. But anyways, so when I had the biopsy, they had numbed me, and that was painful, and mainly painful because they had to go deep. So they went, really deep, super painful. But I made it, and they went in, and they, when they go and get a piece of your flesh, it's almost like they push this button, and it's like there's this pressure, and it's like, and oh my God, you can feel that. I'm like, oh. But the cool thing about it, you may not like to look at things like this, but I do. So I was looking at the screen. I'm like, I can see the needle going in and coming out. So that was pretty cool. The pain that I felt was not pretty cool, but it wasn't too bad. I've had different biopsies. This was a ultrasound needle guided biopsy. I think my worst biopsy was a mammogram guided biopsy. And if you've had mammograms before, it's, they take it and they smush it with the machine. Hopefully down the road they change that. But anyways, so can you imagine you're smushed, and that can be painful already. And then they stick a needle down in there. I never want to do a mammogram guided biopsy ever again. That was the most painful mammogram that I had at the moment. Because later I'll talk to you about, not mammogram, I'm sorry, biopsy. Later I'll talk to you about something that happened. But anyways, stand on focus. So then I had to wait for the results. And initially, they put in that it was rated 5, meaning that there was a 95% chance that this was cancer. And I was like, please let me be the 5%. Please let me be the 5%. As much as I truly wanted to be that 5%, I was praying to be that 5%, meaning the 5% that it wasn't. Um, I knew, God had already, set things up, set things in place, the journey that I had been on. Um, I knew deep down inside, but I was like, no, 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 let's pray about it, all those things, right? I gotta believe I'm gonna be that 5%. No, no, no. But even my surgeon's nurse, not my surgeon, but my surgeon's nurse was like, oh, I can't believe they gave you a 5. They probably shouldn't have given you a 5, maybe a 4, but not a 5. But that I believe that radiologist, because I know what I pray for, that the lead radiologists come in. And so I knew that if they put it at a 95%, it probably was 95%. And in fact, on April 1st, I got the phone call. My surgeon was the first one to call me. It's great that, and that's what I'm talking about. I had already built a relationship with the surgeon, right? Before this happened. And so my surgeon was the first one to call me. I had met with the team prior to the biopsy because I was like, I'm meeting with everybody. I need everybody on board. I think this is it, even before the biopsy happened. And so she was the first one to call me. It was on April 1st. And I know you might say, oh, she called you and did it over the phone and not in person. For me, I mean, God knows me. And so I preferred over the phone. They didn't know I preferred over the phone, but I'm glad it was over the phone. I don't know if I could have did that in person. I'm a private person. Tell me what I need to know, and then let me deal with it alone, right, with God. And so when she called me, it was April 1st, and she's telling me, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm listening, I'm taking notes, asking my questions that popped in my head at that moment. And then I was thinking to myself, okay, it's April 1st. Could this be April Fool's? No, she wouldn't do that to me. You don't play with something like that. So I was like, okay, it's not April Fool's. I was hoping though. I hope that, it was April Fool's, but no, it wasn't. It wasn't. And so when I got off the phone, I start singing a song. It starts with, Lord, you are good. You're better than good. And I was singing that song. And I'll put in the video where, like, my raw video I did a video when I heard about it. So I'll put that video attached to this one. But I just wanted to do a quick summary overall about what happened. So eventually I had scans, and I did cry on April 1st. Now, I don't cry much. Like, it takes a lot for me to cry. I don't cry much. It was something that I prayed that I don't like doing a lot of crying. Get the emotions out so I can stay focused. But I cried when that happened. I was crying. Oh my God, when I got it. But anyway, so scan's done. My PET scan was important for me because we knew that, of course, it was in my breast in that one lump, and we knew that it spread. It went to at least one lymph node. So the PET scan was able to show that at least it didn't show any cancer in the rest of my body. So thank God for that. But it did show in lymph nodes. Now, it didn't say how many. We knew one. So when the PET scan said lymph nodes, then we knew that it was more than one. So we knew it had spread. I was stage 2A, and then also it was hormone receptor positive. I was HER negative, and of course, I was not triple negative. So that was all good. And then other exams was done. CT scan was done. An MRI was done. And what's strange about all of those is that the size varied with each one of them. PET scan showed the smallest size. MRI, I think, showed the biggest size. And a CT scan was in the middle. And so, so I stage 2B. And the good thing was that the PET scan didn't show it was in my, I had a bone test as well. So it wasn't in my bones, wasn't in any other organs. It was just showing that one lump in my breast and in my lymph nodes. So it was good and bad. Bad because it had spread, right? Good was because it was still regional. And yeah, and then I just, when I first felt it, and I'm in bed, and I'm like, babe, I'm not doing chemo. That was my first thing. I'm not doing chemo, Corey. I'm not doing chemo. And he was like, oh, if it's gonna help you, you're gonna do chemo. I was like, whatever. I'm not doing chemo. And so it's a tough decision about your treatment because I'm anemic. I have chronic kidney disease and I have sickle cell trait. And so chemo can impact all of those. And so I know how it is to feel super tired, to be just laying in bed and there is nothing you can do about it. So in my mind, you add chemo on top of that. Oh my God, I just couldn't imagine what that would be like. And so, of course, that's why my first thought was no chemo. Don't want to do chemo because it's already when I'm, with being anemic, when I have those days, it can be really bad because I can just be like, Lord, I'm just so tired, and there's nothing I can do about it. Anyways, so fast forward. I made the decision that I wanted to do surgery first because I have a Japan trip scheduled for June. Now, my oncologist was like, cancel the trip. You're doing chemo first. And I was like, the Japan trip, I wanted to go to Japan since I was a kid. I was always fascinated about Japan, the culture, the architecture over there, just so many things about Japan. I always wanted to go since I was a kid. And my daughter had the opportunity to go with the Girl Scouts. And last year I was saying, Lord, I really want to go to Japan too. That has been a childhood dream of mine. But we were already paying for her to go. And so I prayed for me to get the money to go. And of course, I can use my credit cards. I can open up a new account, me with credit. That would have been no problem. But God gave us the provision. He gave me the money that I didn't even have to use my card. Now, of course, I did leverage my card so I can get the points with it. But then I went back and paid it off because we had we received the money to pay for it. And so when my oncologist was telling me, hey, cancel your Japan trip, I was thinking to myself, now I know that God didn't bring me this far, right? And give me the funding for my trip just to come back and say, no, you can't go. You can't go. And so that was part of my decision of what I wanted to do first with my treatment. And yes, maybe I can always go to Japan. Maybe it's not promised. Tomorrow's not promised to anyone, right? And it's not that if I don't do chemo now that I'm going to die, right? Because I can die from anything, right? I can be in a car accident. You can die from anything. And so, but in my mind, I'm like, I know that God didn't do all of that to just come back and say, cancel the trip. So I stayed firm with that and was able to get him to approve me doing surgery first. All right, then chemo. I still don't know what my treatment plan is yet, but I did decide I'm doing surgery first. And that just aligned perfectly. We know God is a God of timing, right? And a God of order. And so it timed out perfectly that I do surgery first, and then that gives me 5 weeks to recover before my Japan trip. And so I was like, okay, let's do that. Let's do that. And it just worked out perfectly. They were able to pull my surgery date in because it would have been later, but they were able to pull it in. And then I would have 5 weeks before my trip to recover. And so it's June. I have like about 2 weeks left before my Japan trip. So I'm super excited. Praying that I can still make it there safe and make it back safe and just enjoy and live life. Because that's what I was saying. I want to live life, okay? And that's part of me living life, even with this diagnosis. And to be there when my daughter is going to be there too, I don't know when I'll be able to get that moment back. And so excited about that. Anyways, I decided to do surgery first. I have some videos about surgery and post-surgery and stuff like that. So I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. And then I have a lot of raw video where I was just tired. I didn't feel like doing my hair. I tried, but I'm just tired. I didn't feel like doing my hair and things like that. So bear with me. You're not gonna, I don't wear makeup anyways. I put on lip gloss, but just bear with me in those videos. Know my heart. I wasn't gonna share, but with my friends and family that I was sharing with, just a few of them, I was getting so much feedback, and I was encouraging them that I was like, you know what? Let me just go ahead and put it out there. Who knows who I can encourage? I'm not going to worry about how I look. It doesn't look professional like those other videos out there, but know my heart. Even now, I did my best. I did my best with my hair. I'm able to move my arm a little bit better, so I did my best with my hair. And I put on my lip gloss today. But anyways, I have a lot of appointments this week, and you'll get to know about my journey. And I got through my surgery successful, and you'll get all the results, when you look at my other videos of what happened with my surgery and some other things that I've been going through, some experiences, lots of things. So this is just to give you a quick overview to bring you up to speed and where I'm at. I hope my journey inspire you, even if you don't have the diagnosis. If you know somebody who had the diagnosis, share, like this, follow, because I'm not just talking about my cancer journey. I'm talking about living life. I'm not talking about just credit, because I do talk about credit. But I'm talking about going to conferences. I'm talking about sharing my experiences at conferences. I got a conference that I'm going to next week. It's called Good Soil. So I'm still living my life. June is a major month for me, and that's why I needed surgery first. Chemo would have just canceled everything for the month of June. I got a conference that I got a VIP ticket for. I'm a Girl Scout troop leader, so my first Girl Scout is getting her Gold Award, and the ceremony is in June. I was like, I have to be there, right? And then, of course, my Japan trip, and I can't think of everything, but just so much going on in the month of June. And this time is just perfect with me doing surgery first. And hey, if something happens because I took time to live life, I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to live life. And I will not regret that decision. I will not. But anyway, so I'm excited about living life. And if I do decide to do chemo, then I would do chemo. Let me go on pause here because this phone is ringing. All right, that gives a quick overview as you go into my videos. And yeah, this is my journey. And I'm grateful. I'm super grateful to God. In January, oh, I got to tell you this really quick. But wait, there's more. Right, you're going to hear that a lot because I forget, okay? I don't have a script. I'm not going by a script. So I'm just kind of flowing here, right? In the month of January, God put it on my heart that we need to reduce our sugar. So we've been reducing our sugar since January, our sugar intake. And it was tough. Let me just tell you, reducing sugar intake, especially for me. I love brownies. I love chocolate cake. I love Kit Kat. I love Twix. Like, I love all of these sweets, especially chocolate. And I love milk chocolate. And so God put on my heart in January, which was not good timing because Girl Scout season selling cookies was coming. I was like, no, 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 no. But I did. Oh my goodness. I didn't eat many cookies, which is not normal for me. But I started that in January, not knowing that the end of February, I was going to find this lump. And in April, I was going to find out this diagnosis. And one of the things about the cancer that I have is sugar can feed it. And so that's what I mean by that God had put things in order. So even in January, we stopped with like processed meats. We used to go to different sub places. We stopped going to sub places. We stopped with the processed meats as well in January. So we had already started down this road of eating healthier. And those things, processed meats and the sugar, actually feed the type of cancer that I have. And so God was already orchestrating this, right? And putting things in place for me. And so I am super grateful. And this was after having a clear mammogram. I think it was October, November. I had a clear mammogram and an ultrasound because I usually get diagnostic mammograms. So I had an ultrasound and a mammogram back in October and November, and that was clear. It was clear. And so finding this in the end of February was a big surprise, but of course, didn't surprise God. But anyways, I want to share that piece with you as well. And it was just these events, you know, being laid off in June, launching a book with other authors and Les Brown, and meeting so many authors, which some of them have been critical in my journey as well. And that was July. And then graduating from learning how to speak on stages. That was awesome. That was in July. And the last day of me being in Atlanta, boom, car accident, right? That was a lot that I had to get through. And then, boom, 9 months later, not a baby, but this cancer diagnosis. And so I'm grateful that I've been able to, you know, I'm not working, so I'm able to focus on this and get the proper healing that I need. So I'm grateful for that as well. I'm grateful that God is sustaining us financially. I'm grateful that my credit is at a great point that if we need to rely on that, we can. So I'm grateful for that as well. And I'm just super grateful. I'm grateful to God, and I'm grateful to this journey, and hopefully that I help others. And so thank you for coming on this journey with me. Feel free to leave comments, encouragement, Bible verses, prayers, whatever. Thank you. And like I said, even if you're not on a cancer journey, I could still be encouraging you somehow. And that's my hope and my prayer. Thank you. I love you all. And I'm grateful to my friends and family. Okay, that's it. Thank you. Love you all. Bye.